Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to our part two of this little series talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, what we were wrong about, what we were right about. And I'm here with Trent again, voted number one co-host of Cup Check. Trent, how do you feel about that title?
Very happy in the last 10 minutes. The polls came in. I'm ecstatic.
Yes,
Feels
sir.
good to be back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what happens when you're consistent with uploading. The fans start to love you. So, Trent, we're glad you're here. Why don't you lead us off with your good pitcher to highlight?
Yeah. So, in another episode of highlighting the good, the bad, and the ugly, my good guy was Zach Gallen. And I wanted to choose him and highlight him because he's a guy who's dealt with a lot of injuries. I can relate to that. I haven't been traded around, but he's been traded around between from the Cardinals to the Marlins, Marlins to the Diamondbacks, and then my next bullet point is he plays for the Diamondbacks. Sorry. Arizona's lovely and all, but damn, man, they suck.
That's tough.
Um, but and then he's always been underrated as a prospect. He's always put up good numbers. He wasn't drafted very high, he was middle round. And he just kind of had to fight his way and claw his way up. And so very impressive. And he's back on the mound doing good things. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy for him. I had him. I picked him off waivers that year. He kind of broke out in the second half of the year, and ever since then, I've just been a Zach Gallen guy, a big fan, and someone who's battled through the injuries and know how tough it is. But you just keep your head down, keep going, and eventually you get back to where you want to be. And Gallen's feeling good on the mound. You can tell he just looks healthy, looks spry on the mound. So just really, baseball's better with a good Zach Gallen on the mound.
I
So
agree.
pretty happy that our boy Zach is back, who has been a constant breakout pick in like every year Cup Check has been around. So
And
Zach Gallen finally breaking out again.
before you move on, I think the irony in that is the trade that the Marlins made with the Diamondbacks for both sides, it it was such a random, it was weird to make a trade. It makes sense. It worked out pretty well for both sides, but why make the trade? As you remember, it was a 1-for-1 for Jazz Chisholm, and it's like, everybody's happy. It's kind of weird, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Moving
Weird
on to
trade
your guy.
looking back on that. For my good little highlight to put out right now, Justin Verlander. Another guy who has really battled through the injuries. But I mean, Verlander's just a goat and he rises above it. Verlander right now, 10-3, 90 strikeouts with a 2.03 ERA, so a really low ERA and a 0.83 whip. Um, I was really high on Verlander coming in the year. I mean, anytime you can get like a guy with that pedigree that late in the draft who just knows how to succeed, you always got to do it. And I will say this, having Verlander on my team, he put some very great outings together. But I almost want to say it's like the old man effect where some games he's just like prime Justin Verlander.
Yeah.
Like on the seventh, he faced last month, faced Seattle 7 innings, 1 earned, 12 Ks. So just great start. All right. But then there's other games where he doesn't quite have like the swing and miss stuff, I feel like. So he has some of these games where he's striking out like three people on the 24th to 18th. He struck out three, but still had good starts. And then a five. So yeah, like the strikeouts might not be as high as what they have been, but he's getting outs. And yeah, I'm just happy
So I
Justin
think
Verlander's doing good.
I think Verlander kind of highlights a very interesting dynamic, which is the ageism of baseball. And God forbid I mention that. But I kind of approached it in a similar way in that a lot of people, and now this is in full dynasty, not mixed. A lot of people kind of undervalue older players. And if you ask me, if you have a competing roster, especially with hitting, and you go out and you trade for what this is what I did. Go out and you trade for the Verlanders, the Kershaws, the Scherzers, guys that are a little past their prime. I mean, Lance Lynn, we mentioned. Uh, I know he's been injured, but he's one that will come back and be a dog, right? So guys, kind of get overlooked because they're in the mid 30s. It's like they're out there producing, they're not dying off.
That's
The
true.
name,
And a guy like Verlander who's had experience at like the ultimate like pressure situation, like game 7 of the World Series type, like these starts on a Tuesday versus the Mariners aren't phasing him. He's not giving it any extra thought. He's just rolling out of bed and producing. So
Pressure makes diamonds, man.
Yeah.
So moving on to the bad, though. My bad player I wanted to highlight is Blake Snell. I was wrong on him. It's not my worst wrong opinion, but after Larry Rothschild was fired last year, mid 2021, Snell came out of the gate and seemingly just he was old. I thought he was old, like Cy Snell, thought he was back. But, the second half of Snell was really, really good. So I was high on him coming to the draft. He has not been that good for whatever it's worth. It's almost as if he's not overly terrible on the mound. He just throws a lot of pitches. And that really doesn't bode well for a guy you need quality starts from. So
yeah, and let's have a quick mention. Like, dude, what the heck are we doing? You're hitting Bryce Harper in the hands.
yeah,
All of a sudden, Bryce Harper isn't playing anymore. Like, dude, no offense, but I just threw like a 30 pitch bullpen. I did not throw one pitch like that. Like I know what happens. Like sometimes you slip, but like, dog, Bryce Harper, like,
yeah, of all people, right?
Bryce Harper, perfect.
But going to
Yeah,
yours,
no, Bryce Harper will be missed. I'm sure Blake feels terrible, and I'm sure it was not intentional in the least bit.
yeah,
So
Harper waved it off, and they had a good reconvening
yeah,
afterwards. So
just frustrating because a guy like Bryce, these ABs are very crucial, especially when considering like the all-time players. You gotta accumulate these stats, man. You gotta stat pad whenever you can.
yeah, but moving on to yours, bad player.
My player who's kind of underperforming to highlight right now, I got Jose Berrios. I did not really expect us to be talking about Berrios, but at the same time, I mean, anyone can have a bad year in the AL East. You're just
Yeah,
facing guys who hit balls 120 every time you go play the Yankees. You're facing Boston, who has some pretty good hitters, and the Rays are just always sneaky. So definitely like some tough teams to have to face. But Berrios definitely struggling a bit this year with a 5.72 ERA. Just not something you want to see from a guy that talented.
if you can sell his name, sell him. He's, we were actually at the game that he pitched against the Cardinals, and we talked to the pitching coach, and we waved at Berrios. Berrios waved back, so we assume and hope that he's a really nice guy. But by all means, trade him if you can for a decent return. He's lost all his life on his fastball. It's not the same. But
yeah, I will say this, especially now we're in like almost the second half of the fantasy season. You need to shore up your pitching staff because when you're in the playoffs, if you have a pitcher just get lit up for 6 earned, and then all of a sudden you're losing ERA, WHIP, and stuff like that, and you just get down the matchup, like that's the worst thing to happen. You don't want to be starting a guy that you don't trust when the playoffs roll around. So if you can flip Berrios right now, we recommend you do so.
yeah, agreed. Moving on to one wrong opinion, and I'm actually going to throw out 2 because I just realized as we were talking, I have another one that I was wrong on.
Shocker.
Actually, I felt more strongly about that one than I do the one I wrote down, which the one I wrote down was Alex Cobb. He came out of the gate signing with the Giants on a 1-year deal. So I figured, well, with the Giants turning Rodon and Webb and whoever else around, I was like, I thought he'd be all right. He's touching 98 with pinpoint command in spring training. So I was like, perfect. We got ourselves a breakout candidate. Nope, not the case. He had an injury. He hasn't had the same control, but is what it is.
Is the velo still there? I haven't really kept
Velo's
tabs
all
on
right.
him.
I mean, he's sitting mid-90s, which is what you like to see, but he doesn't have the same movement as he did in spring training when I was watching, for whatever it's worth. But
Yeah,
what it
that's one of
is.
the toughest things as a pitcher. Like you never know when you're going to peak throughout the year. You obviously want it in the middle of the season, but I mean, sometimes you have your best pitching when you don't necessarily need to have it. So
Yeah.
just tough shake for Alex Cobb. Are you still rostering him in leagues or?
I am, from the standpoint that I think this coming All-Star break is going to give a lot of guys a rest. And I think the second half is going to have some decent breakout candidates.
Yeah, definitely.
I do want to highlight one
let's
thing.
hear your other wrong real quick.
It's my wrong opinion. Okay. And it's touching on the Giants. I didn't mention him for a reason. They also turned around Kevin Gausman. And so when he left to go to the Blue Jays, I thought he'd get the effect that Jose Berrios is suffering from. I thought in the AL East, Gausman just would absolutely poop the crapper. I just did not think he would be what he's been. And so mad props to him. He is completely turned, I was fading him in everything I had. And, I just traded for him. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting dynamic. I am impressed, and he's looked great. His splitter's doing disgusting things both in real life and in MLB The Show. So just respect to him. But yeah, go ahead with your wrong opinion.
Yeah. So moving on to my wrong, preseason, looking for the breakout. Sometimes you got to take a shot in the dark. And I was looking at this young Detroit pitching staff, and I was like, dude, there's so much talent here. Oh
Matt
my gosh.
Manning,
Oh my
Spencer
God. Casey
Turnbull.
Mize. He is the guy, blah, blah, blah. So, I was pretty high on Casey Mize. I wasn't like going like way in advance to draft him in drafts, but I was making sure to get some shares of Mize. But little did I know, I mean, the year before I had Tariq Skubal on my team too, and he played well. Like he didn't play great, he played well. I probably should have highlighted him instead. I mean, Skubal, not necessarily like, oh my God, he's the best thing ever, but he's having a quietly good year. I mean, he had a span of 2 rough starts against Texas and Boston, but other than that, I mean, he's been pretty good this year. 3.8 ERA, obviously kind of ballooned by those 2 starts, but 90 strikeouts, pretty much the same as Verlander. So Tariq Skubal might have been a little bit of the breakout from that young core. But Casey Mize, maybe next year you'll find yourself on the breakout video as well.
Yeah. Quick tidbit on Casey Mize. I half bought on him going into the year because the guy who turning 25, it's make or break. And for a guy who was the round 1 overall 1 pick, I was like, maybe he's got it. Maybe he'll show something. But didn't work out very well. He's having surgery, so
Hey,
is what it is.
We're still
But
cheering for you, Mize. You could have that Carlos Rodon breakout in a few years from now, and we will not be shocked.
Yeah. But again, to cap on a nice note, we're going to finish with our one right opinion so we can feel good about ourselves. I'd like to go ahead and take the floor and say with a proud chest, last year, July of 2021, I went to a Tampa Bay Rays game and sat up right behind home plate for about $40. And it was an absolute steal and probably one of the best games I've ever attended from the standpoint that I got to watch Shane McClanahan pitch. And holy Toledo, he is the real deal. Obviously, everybody knows it now, but man, I watched him live and I remember I texted in the chat about it, and this dude was giving Randy Johnson, miniature Randy Johnson vibes. So I've never seen anything like it. The run he has on his 98-mile-an-hour fastball is insane. Pair that with his 83 slider or whatever, it's absurd. So I got him everywhere I could. I pestered Zach, the co-host, to give him to me last year, and he never did because he's just not the biggest trader. But is what it is, and very happy for Shane, very happy for the Rays because they're a good ball club, and man, he is legit. So
yeah, quick shout out to our top 25 keeper video moving forward. Shane McClanahan finds himself in the top 25, which is no small feat at all. So make sure to go check out that video if you haven't already. And ending our video on my one right take, all preseason, me and Zach hammered home Sandy Alcantara. And what do you know? The guy who throws 103 with like a 94-mile-per-hour slider is damn near the best pitcher in baseball. Sandy posting a 9-3 record, 107 Ks, a 1.82 ERA, and a 0.91 WHIP. Just looking at the recents real quick, last two games, 9 innings, 2 earned, 8 innings, 0 earned, 10 Ks. Sandy has officially hit his stride. He is position ranked number 2 for pitchers behind Shane McClanahan. Gotta love Sandy. We've been singing the praises for years, and it looks like he has finally just put it all together and is just having that maybe Cy Young year. We will see.
I watch, before we go, I cry differently out of each eye. One is out of tears of joy and the other is out of tears of sadness. As a Cardinal fan, good Lord, it sucks to see him doing well. And as a baseball fan and a fan of Sandy Alcantara himself, who loved the Cardinals from day one and loved the fans and still does, I'm very happy to see him succeed. So
Yeah, I mean, you insert Sandy Alcantara on the Cardinals right now, it would end all of our problems, which is
that's the truth.
what hurts the most because, yeah, Sandy, preseason we were saying top 10 pitcher, not 10. So, Sandy, it was really hard to want to rank him over. I mean, the top 10 pitchers is usually so stacked. And me and Crutch both put him in our top 10, and he's proved that he is definitely top 10, and he's honestly probably more like top 5. So yeah.
Okay.
That's going to do it for our video today. Thank you all for watching so much. A big shout out to Trent Moore for being here. Good to have a co-host. Yeah. Any closing statements, Trent?
No, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, like and subscribe, and go ahead and give us a follow and send us a message if you want to talk at all. So,
Yep. And be sure to check out the TikTok and Insta in the description below. Thank you all for watching.
peace.
Stay long.